course, yeah.
Say your name.
My name is Kenny Guillory. I also go by KG, you know.
And
Yeah,
I think a lot of the issues that you talked about. I mean, we think that a lot of them come from our childhood. So, um,
definitely, yeah.
would you mind just telling us about your childhood in general?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up, I, I don't feel like I grew up in a bad space mentally. Like, I feel like a lot of kids probably had it harder than I did. So, like,
Yeah.
my parents separated when I was 2 months. So, my father was raised out here in Harbor City. You know, I mean, he came from Compton, but they moved out here when he was like in middle school or whatever. My mom's came out from Victorville when she was like 14, 15. So she was pretty much raised in LA. And I lived with my mom's. Now, my brother and I are 14 years apart. So growing up, it was my mom, my brother, and I. So he played in that in that time period. He played more of a father figure than my dad did because I only saw my dad like maybe twice a month. I saw my brother every day in my life, you know, and it was weird for me, you know. I think I did carry a lot of resentment because at that time my dad was still an alcoholic. He didn't sober up. He didn't, you know, become sober until I was about 10 months. I'm sorry, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like mentally going back into that, like remembering the times when I saw his rage. It brings back like haunting memories,
Yeah.
you know. And my dad, I mean, I love my pops to death, man, but like, you know, he deals with like bipolar disorder, so you know he has that mental illness. He also suffered. He's hard of hearing.
How'd that feel growing up? Like, say, since you don't know what's going on, you can't identify what your dad's going through, but how did that affect you emotionally?
Um, Honestly, emotionally, I just learned how to keep shit to myself.
Yeah.
You know, so growing up, I like I would suppress a lot of pain, guilt, pressure, whatever I felt. I kept it within me, and it wasn't until like I would say like middle school when I started writing, where I was able to like get that out.
Yeah.
You know, and it first started off with journaling, and then that translated into poetry, and then I'd say by like high school, I started rapping. So um, for me, it was always writing, you know, because the fact that like my brother and I were so far apart, once he went off to college and, you know, got with my sister-in-law and everything, it was really just me and my mom's.
Yeah.
So I really grew up like as an introvert. Like I was really reserved. And like mind you, I grew up in South Central. So my mom's, you know, after basketball practice, where you at? Like you better be home. You know what I'm saying? And it's like she didn't really want me out in the streets like that. So when I got home after homework, it was bam, get to my journaling or bam, listen to a instrumental and start writing. You know, and for me that was therapeutic. That's
What were your dreams as a child?
oh wow. Um, mixed emotions. You know, I think sometimes I would have like frightening, you know, nightmares. Other times I would have, you know, moments of bliss.
What about aspirations?
You know, it's crazy. I always wanted to be a writer since, as I mean, from like the moment I could remember as a kid, like 7 or 8 years old. You know, I always envisioned myself being in interviews just like this
Yeah.
and talking about my. Honestly, I was at that time I was talking about books,
Yeah.
you know, but now I'm talking about music. So it's a crazy way um, how life kind of like unravels, you know. But for me, I always wanted to be a writer or a firefighter.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, I always wanted to help people. You know, and it makes so much sense now because, like, I want to go back to school. So I got my BA in English, but I want to go back for clinical psychology. Like, I want to become a therapist because it's like I know there are people out there that deal with the same issues internally that I
Right.
do, and I want to help them just as much as I wanted help when I was a kid, you know.
Can you
So,
tell me more about your relationship with your dad, and how that generally felt? It can be however you would describe that.
definitely, yeah. My pops was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know. Um, there were when I was a kid, you know, there were rare times when he was sober, and when he wasn't sober, it was either he was like extremely irate, you know, just like ready to pop off, or he was asleep. So when I went over at the, you know, at his crib, you know, he had the parental locks off on the TV, so I'd be watching all the rated R films while he's knocked out or whatever. But I'm just thinking, oh, Pop's asleep. I didn't think, okay, he just took down like a full 6 pack and he's in a, you know, alcoholic coma. You know what I'm saying? He probably won't wake up until tomorrow. But as an adult, I get it now, you know, and I think as a man who suffers from the same disease, I get it even more, you know.
How do you feel for him now since you're older and you can kind of identify a little bit better?
Wow, I commend him. You know, not only do I commend him, but I admire him. You know, I would say my dad is my unofficial, official sponsor
Yeah,
in AA.
yeah,
You know, like that's the guy that I go to.
yeah,
You know, especially with this COVID situation,
Yeah.
it's hard for us to get to meetings
yeah,
with like Zoom and everything. So when I'm like in the dumps, I usually go to him and he'll tell me, you know, read this, or, you know, are you sober now? And I might say yes, I might say no. You know, depending on that, he'll say, you know, we'll just take it one day at a time. You know, and that's all we can do. But for the most part, I admire my pops. The fact that he's almost at 20 years, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
when you get to 20 years, you damn near an old timer, you know? So
yeah.
I, I, I admire that man.
What about your relationship with your mom, and how you feel about her then versus now?
Oh, man, that's emotional, bro. So my mom was like my angel, man. You know, the reason why this interview is so special to me is because today's her birthday. And she passed away 3 years ago from breast cancer. And it's it's still, I think, hard for me to talk about it because, you know, I was living in Chicago after I graduated from college. I stayed out in Chicago for about 6 months, and once I found out that her breast cancer had metastasized to her lungs and it became terminal, I remember my brother called me. He was like, "Yo, I need you back home now." Like, and, you know, mind you, my brother and I are like 14 years apart. So from a grown man telling you like, "Yo, I need you here," um, I said, "Bet," and I left Chicago the next week. So I came home and I took care of my mom's for about 4 or 5 months. Um, and I was actually with her um, when she took her last breath in the hospital. And it's crazy because I actually talk about that in my song. Um, but nah, yeah, my mom and I, we had a great relationship. You know, that was my angel.
What would you say are the things you learned from them? The most important things you learned from both your father and your mother?
From my mother, I would say to always be willing to give yourself to others. You know, my mom was a very selfless human being. Like she was so selfless. Like she would give her last dollar to someone she saw off the street. You know, and it's primarily because we've gone through that. You know, there was a period in my life where my mom and I were homeless. You know, we had to live we had to live off of hotels, from hotel to hotel for like a year straight. And even that, like, like that period in my life, I mentally block out because I don't like to remember shit like that. But like we were, in some of the harshest parts of downtown to, like Torrance. I mean, Torrance isn't too bad, but like, um, I just remember like us staying in like hotels, waking up at 5 o'clock. I had to take a shower, you know, she's getting ready, and then bam, we leave. She drops me off, and we're literally living out of our car, because we're only staying at these hotels 1 week at a time. So when it's time to go, we just pack our shit in the suitcase, put it in the car. She picks me up, and now we're heading to another hotel. And it was like that for a full on year. And I would definitely say like selflessness. My mom was just a very selfless person. My pops. I mean, I learned a lot from my pops. I would say perseverance. My dad has gone through a lot in his life, and the fact that he's still here despite all of the challenges that he's dealt with in life. I would say perseverance is the main thing I've learned from my father.
Can you tell me about your first love and how that felt? It can be a person, but it can also be a hobby, something you like to do, whatever you associate with being your first love.
I would say my first love was hip hop. I was probably around 7 or 8 years old, listening to like the Slim Shady LP.
Yeah.
And I mean that's such a vulgar album, bro. It's like I remember just being stuck on. It's a song called Role Model,
Yeah.
and I don't know if can I curse on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was a song called I Don't Give a Fuck,
Yeah.
and I'm like 7 years old, just banging this shit out. It's just like, and I know if my mom was here, bro, she'd be so mad. But like those two songs, I resonated with.
Yeah.
And then when I was like 12, 11 to 12, my mom would give me like allowance money. So she would give me like 10, 11, I'm sorry, like $10, $15 every other week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I would literally stack up my money and go straight to Best Buy when my dad picked me up, and I would go pick up hip hop albums. So like I say like 05, 06, man, I was out there buying like I remember all of them. Ice Cube's Laugh Now Cry Later.
Yeah.
E40's My Ghetto Report Card. I picked up all of it because I was a huge Eminem fan growing up. So I picked up like, Eminem Show, of course, Encore, Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers LP, even like Eazy-E's first album. It was just,
How do you feel like how's that vibe when you get the new CDs?
It was an escape for me. It was just I would literally get entrenched in the lyricism because at that time I was just like, damn, like did he really rhyme this with this, and how did he do that and this and that? And at that point in time, this is back before the internet was really booming like that with like Rap Genius and everything. So at that time, I was literally, man, like listening to a line, and I would pause it and I would write it down, and I would listen to the next line, I'd pause it and I'd write it down until I had the full verse, and I would study that verse, and I would figure out how these rappers were doing it the way they were. And I thank God that I was like following Eminem so much, because I mean like this dude is so prolific, you know what I'm saying? Like the way he's able to like flip words. So even I think within my own art form, I took from what I learned from them, like literally studying their craft and then applying it to my own, so.
What about your first loss or heartbreak? And it can be
Yeah.
person.
Oh, that's easy. I would say my biggest loss or heartbreak was right before my mom passed. I was actually engaged to this woman that I met in college. She was going to UCLA at the time I was going to see son, and we dated for maybe about 2 years. And we actually moved out to Chicago together, working at the same nonprofit or whatever.
Yeah.
Came back and everything, because I told her, I was like, look, like I'm going back home to take care of my mom. I was like, you can stay out here if you want, but it's on me. You feel me? I gotta go back home and take care of moms. So she put it upon herself to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go with you. I said, bet. We came back, but I guess that was a little too much for her because she lost her moms when she was like 9 or 10. you know, and her mom's died like a really painful death. You know, she was involved with some really bad stuff in Chicago, and so I don't know if it was like a trigger for her with my mom slowly going the way she did, but we were supposed to get married like a month before my mom passed away, and she ended up calling the wedding off, and then we broke up. You know, we didn't talk, and we didn't talk for like a cool month, and the first time I saw her up until she broke up with me was at my mom's funeral. So like my whole family was like pissed when she showed up. And I remember her walking up, and I was still mad, of course. You know what I mean? You have these mixture of emotions, you know what I mean? Like, this is your fiance.
Yeah.
And I just remember my mom like in my ear yo, like, you still love her, you know, like this is family. Like, give her a, you know, and let her know she's loved. And it was just all these positive reinforcements that I had. And I just remember hugging her, and you know, that was that. I mean, you know, obviously things didn't go to after that, because I'm really big on loyalty. Once you cross that, I just can't fuck with you. But this last relationship I was in, like I was telling you before we started recording, had a lot to do, I think, with that prior relationship, because I had a lot of like trust issues. You know, and on top of that, I was still dealing with my alcoholism when I met my ex. Yeah. And it got to a point where we had an ultimatum where it was like, yo, you're gonna either stop drinking or I'm out. And you know, I just couldn't keep myself together. So I learned a lot from that. You know, I think for myself, it was like, I see that I still have some growing to do as a man. You know, I'm 27, you know, but at the same time, I think there is like resentment that I still hold from that, because it's like, well, as addicts, this is something that we're gonna deal with for the rest of our lives, whether it's addicted to alcohol, pornography, weed, even playing games. Like, addiction is in my DNA. So you're gonna break up with me for this? I felt like if you really cared, you would have never left. You know, and it's tough to say that. You know what I'm saying? Because I can only imagine what it feels like to be with an addict. You know, I'm the addict. I don't know what it feels like to be with someone who's addicted to something. Yeah. You know, so I can only imagine. But at the same time, it's like,
who would you say first taught you love, and how?
my mom, without a doubt. You know, I mean, just like one of the simpler memories I have is like walking from elementary in like third grade, and I'm standing in the inside of her, and she's like, no. She said, you know, she was like, get on the outside of me. I was like, why? She was like, whenever you're walking with a woman, you always stand on the outside. And I was like, I didn't understand it at that time. I'm like, why? You know, like, what the hell? You know, like, she was like, you know, it's not only is it common courtesy, but if, you know, she was like, if a car ever comes and, you know, you want to be there to protect your woman, right? And mind you, my mom's talking to me like this in like third grade. You feel me? And it's like, she truly taught me how to treat a woman, you know, and because of that, I thank her for life. You know, it's like, I've never been one to like, you know, cheat on a woman or you know, do them dirty. I think for me, again, it's like with my alcoholism, a lot of things that I've learned from childhood, I still carry on as a man, which is suppression. So if I feel some type of way, I'm just gonna keep it to myself. But once you put that alcohol in me, you know, it becomes another story, you know. So,
what's love to you now? Has it always been the same? If not, how are both of those loves different from what you thought it was as a child or growing up to how you perceive love now?
to me, I think love is the same. It doesn't change. outside of, I mean, conceptually it doesn't change because love is ever growing. You know, it is transmor. It's I'm sorry. It's trans. Damn. Transformative. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't say that, but it's progressive.
Yeah.
You know, it's undefined. You know, love is forgiveness. It's loyalty. But I've realized now as a man, like sometimes there's certain people you gotta love from a distance.
Yeah.
You know, and I obviously had to deal with that like the hard way. You know, I get that. You know, because with love, you have to love yourself first before you can love anyone. You know, and I'm still working on that. I'm still working on the self love, on the outpour within myself before I can pour into anyone else's cup. So
What are some of the things you do to show yourself that you love yourself?
self care, you know. Honestly, I was just talking to your little brother about this. Like I booked a room in this same hotel tomorrow
Nice.
because for me, like self care. So generally, like this weekend is really tough for me. You know, so generally, like I'll take like a vacation. Like 2 years ago, I went to the Grand Canyon. Last year, I went to San Diego. You know, because of COVID, I wasn't able to get out like I wanted to. So I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna get a room to myself, and I'm literally gonna like do some self care, man. Like, and it might sound like weak or feminine. It is what it is, man. Like, and that's another thing. Love it is fluid. You know, it's there's no sexuality, there's no gender roles on love. It's just love. You know, it's ever going. And shit, I'm about to get me a room, put some bath bombs in that hole. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm about to I'm really about to do it all out. But for me, it's a time of reflection
Yeah.
because we're almost at the beginning of 2021, and I want to focus on, okay, what goals do I want to accomplish next year?
Right.
You know, and how do I want to finish this year? You know, so for me, it's gonna be journaling. You know, relaxing, of course, but mostly just sitting with myself in my own thoughts and getting those thoughts out in paper and then making that manifest in reality. So that's how I show myself that I love myself is making my ideas come to life. And today, man, I put out my second project for the in the same year. I'm hyped, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. I'm so hyped, um, because it's about me going through that depressive state, you know, and rearranging that and saying, you know what, I'm gonna press on despite what I've gone through, you know, and here we are.
Can you tell me just what a general good day for you looks like? Just, man, this was a great day, or what would that consist of for you?
I would say an ideal day is to wake up around 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Um, do my daily meditation, my daily readings. So usually that's from a big book,
Yeah.
or it's from it's called like basically my stepstones that I do, and it's like this daily reading that I do. Give my gratitude to God, and the way I do that is I go down to the local park. So you're from
Yeah.
the Harbor City area or South Bay,
Yeah.
so I don't know if you know like Kimaloy. It's like off of PCH and is that Vermont?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I usually go over there, and I'll literally walk from one end all the way towards where Harbor Community College is.
Yeah.
So I'll walk all the way over. That's like a good maybe 2.5 miles,
Yeah.
and I'll walk back. And I play like my biggest artist is Common.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Common is my idol. So what I usually do is I'll play like a project from him, or I'll play like some keep it 100. I'll play some gospel music. I don't like to listen to a lot of hip hop during my meditation because I just start getting riled up. Or I'll listen to like meditation music, and I'll just be in this mind state of like gratitude. After that, go home, make some breakfast. Breakfast, like, just maybe a couple of egg whites, spinach, um, and then work on some more writing, you know. Um, Maybe go to the beach, watch the sunset. I'm very simplistic,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I feel like I'm just as much as I'm simplistic, I'm spiritual,
Yeah.
and I have that even balance. Um,
What about a bad day and how you push through that bad day?
so a bad day, I would say it was like today. Well, I wouldn't even say today. It's like waking up, not feeling like doing shit, and like I deal with major depressive disorder, right? So like, um, I have to take citalopram to kind of balance out the serotonin levels in my mind, because when I hit my lows,
Yeah.
it gets bad, and I don't have bipolar disorder like my dad does, so I don't hit highs like he does. I just hit all the lows, and like, so generally it's me forcing myself to get out of bed. So my bad days are like honestly staying in bed until like 11 or 12, getting up, trying to brush my teeth. After I do that, be in my room sulking, and it's like I remember, man, like my ex would just be like, you gotta stop sulking, and I would get so fucking aggravated with her, because it's like, believe me, if I knew how to do that, I would not be on medication for this shit. Um, but it's really about finding the why, and it's crazy because this morning my dad asked me, before I left the house, he was like, today, ask yourself, what are you running to, and what are you running from? And I know what I'm running to. That's easy. From an alcoholic standpoint, I know what I'm running to. But to a certain extent, I'm still trying to figure out, what am I running from? Is it grief? Is it regret? Is it loss? Is it heartache? It's a lot of things that I'm still trying to figure out within myself. But I feel like that's why we're all here, is to figure out the essence of our soul. And honestly, where I'm at in life is, if I can help the next man or the next woman find their peace of mind, or find their why purpose, then I did my job. I did my purpose. Whether it be through music or whether it be through this interview, if I can help the next person figure out, like, have that aha moment and be like, you know what, this is what I need to work on within myself, then that's when I know I've served my purpose on this earth. And it's as simplistic as that for me.
When you go through those depressive days that can be pretty bad, besides taking the medications, what's some of the mental talk that you give yourself?
Putting my trust in God.
Yeah.
You know, um, whether it be to just pull out, my app, my Bible app, and just read, my daily scripture. That helps a lot. To be completely honest. Remembrance. For me, it's like remembering who I'm here for. Whether it be my nephew, my little cousins, my family members that, like, I know my absence from this life would alter their life.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going at times. And I would say that for anyone that's watching this, is like, whenever you have those moments, because I've attempted to kill myself before, but at that moment, I did not care about who would be affected. It was more so about, I want to stop the pain in my heart. And now I think just overcoming that, and then seeing things from a broader spectrum, it's whose lives would I affect if I'm not here, and That's what keeps me going, man. If it's not myself, it's the love and compassion that I have for my family, my close friends, for other people that like consistently supporting me. You know, whether it be through just like Instagram, like, oh man, I see you doing your thing. You know, just those are the people that keep me going, because it's like somehow, someway, I know I'm impacting your life. Like, it takes you a moment in time to be like, man, you doing your thing, I support it. But now I know that I got your attention, you know. So for me, it's those moments, you know, and I cling on to that.
What's a person or an event that's helped shape you, good or bad? How do you feel when you reflect on that?
I mean, honestly, the most tangible experience I can feel like, or I can draw to right now, is my ex, because it's still so like relevant to my life now, you know. And it's funny because we just saw each other last week, and this is the first time we saw each other in 4 months. And I saw her right before I was getting prepped for a funeral that I had to go to for one of my fraternity brothers that took his life. You know, he was dealing with CTE, but he was also dealing with depression, and he couldn't deal with it anymore. You know, and that touched me, you know, on a core that I think a lot of people can't relate to if you have never been through like deep dark depressions. You know, and I just remember having that talk with her, and just feeling like I could have been so much more, not only for you, but for myself, had I been sober, you know. And honestly, like drawing from that experience in life, I would say I don't ever want to take any moment for granted again, because our time on this, in this life, is so limited and so precious. You know, this interview, I'm soaking it in, because, and I'm not trying to think morbid, but who knows what'll happen when I get in my car, or who knows, you know, I just had a car accident last week. My shit is total. You know, it's like I had to take my dad's car to get here, and I lost my job 2 weeks before that. So it's like I literally take the moments that I have to its fullest now. And I learned that from my ex. It was like, don't take life for granted. Don't take people for granted, because you never know, you know.
What's inspired you?
The human experience. I think being able to connect.
Yeah.
The fact that I walked in and immediately we were able to relate on different levels of life. Human connection is what inspires me the most.
What's been a humbling experience for you, and can you describe the feelings during that experience?
A humbling experience, I would say, is going back to when I was talking about when I was homeless. That, for me, I was like in 10th grade. Yeah, like 10th, 11th grade. And it's crazy because I'm a huge Saints fan,
Yeah.
right? But I'm also a huge Lakers fan. And that same year, that was the last year that we won.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, it was crazy because this when we beat Miami, I cried, I boohooed like I was a child, bro. Because for me, it was a remembrance of, damn, remember the last time they won? I was in the hotel room, you know, with my mom celebrating because we didn't have a place to stay. And I still, to this day, remember that. You know what I'm saying? Like, playing Boston, rest in peace, Kobe, bro, because that's my idol in basketball. But he was garbage those last 2 minutes, bro. And he had to hand it off to like Ron Artest and Lamar Odom, Gasol. They were doing their thing. And we ended up winning, bro. And I just remember just going crazy and just feeling like, damn, like, he did it for the little kids like me. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't a kid. I was like 16. But, you know, it's just, it meant so much to the city. And I think for me, it meant so much. And then that
Personal.
same year, that same year, the Saints won. They beat Indianapolis.
It's like you needed that in that
I
year.
needed that hope, bruh.
So go in your mind and think this life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate with the word war.
Hmm. Spiritual war. Um, 2017, when my mom died. 4 months later, I was pledging for a fraternity that I'm now a part of. But mentally going through losing my mom's and trying to become a full on member of that organization, and I haven't felt it this much, or I'm sorry, I haven't felt it like that since until now. So 2020 has been a full on spiritual war for myself. Just mental and spiritual war. Dealing with like loss, like man, I lost like I say five major relatives this year. Like my grandfather, my grandmother, you know, two of my aunties, my uncle, all in the span of like a year. While on top of that, like losing my job, losing my car, now we're in the process of selling our house that we grew up in, while going through a heartbreak. It's but still I was able to persevere. Still I was able to put out two musical projects and still give the people what I'm going through on a day-to-day basis. So for me, it's I'm going through war. I'm going through trying to survive sanity, but at the same time, I'm making mental note. I'm making notes. I'm documenting it, and I'm putting it out within my music. So.
So same type of question. Go in your mind and think this life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time that you can relate to the word peace.
I think that's all three, man. To be honest, like physically, yoga has been peace. Has I've found peace of mind. Even like physical therapy, I've been doing that for a little while. Um, Mentally, like I swear to God, and I might sound weird as fuck for doing this, but I listen to either like I don't know. Do you watch Friends?
I've seen a lot of episodes.
Okay, all right. So there's an episode where like Chandler is listening to this like not a manifestation. I guess you would say like a manifestation recording, and it was I guess intended for women. So he was just like listening to this while he goes to sleep. Yeah. So I go to sleep listening to like words of affirmations, or I go to sleep listening to frequency vibrations, and that helps me, man. When I wake up, I feel more peaceful. So that's on a mental, spiritual. I'm sorry, on a physical and mental level. On a spiritual level, I think it's just going back honestly to like the big book. When I'm able to tap into like meetings, even if it is Zoom, spiritually I feel like I'm being fed. Even if it's just to sit there and listen to someone talk about their day, and if they've had a good day, or even if they've had a shitty day, in that moment I feel like, you know what, I'm not alone, you're not alone, but at least we're still here sober. And I'm not even gonna lie, man, I feel a little embarrassed because I'm not all the way sober now. You know what I mean? Today was kind of one of those days where I wanted to wake up and just ideally, yesterday I woke up, I'm like, I told myself I'm not gonna drink today. But at the same time, I woke up and I was like, I got hit with these emotions, and I was like, I don't want to feel this. So I'm still battling that. I'm still battling feeling the emotions, and once I feel it, being like, I don't want to feel it, I'm gonna go get a drink. It's sobriety is still my biggest challenge to this day. So
Can you tell me about a truly difficult time in your life? How that felt and how you endured?
um I think it really just ties back to like those 5 months of like helping my mom transition or being with her through her transition. And I don't know, man. Like, I don't even, I couldn't even comprehend or tell you how I endured it. It was just one of those moments where it's like, I'm here and this is my mama, so I gotta do it. You know, I'll worry about it later. And I did have my multiple, you know, I had my certain moments of breakdowns, but it was never in front of her because I had to be strong, you know. And for me, it was just about getting to the next day or getting through the week, you know, and making sure that I was constantly feeding her positive reinforcements, you know. So for me, it's just about not, I would say like to kind of like bring a broad message to that is um, not thinking so much about the ending or what's at the end of the tunnel. You know, when you're going through life, sometimes you just have to be in the moment, and you have to have faith and believe that there is the end of there is the light at the end of the tunnel. But while you're in it, just keep going. You know, don't give up. Just keep getting through. Keep treading. You know, and I think that's honestly what I was doing at that time.
Can you tell me about a truly joyous moment in your life and how that felt?
A joyous moment in my life, I would honestly say it's crazy. Like when my nephew was born, you know, um, because my brother and I are 14 years apart. When my nephew was born, I was like 12 years old. I was 11 going on 12. So I was like, I felt like I was about to have a little brother, you know, and it was crazy because I got in trouble like big time that weekend because I pierced my ear. Oh, I had my best friend who grew up right next door to me, pierced my ear. Both, mind you, we were both like 11 years old, and he did it the old-fashioned way, had a needle, and my mom found out the day my nephew was born. So like she was like, when I get home, wear your ass out. And she was pissed, but the day he was born, I think I felt like I can pave it forward in a sense, you know. And to a certain extent, you know, like I still feel like I am paving it forward, you know, because I know that a lot of things that I'm going through in life right now doesn't make sense to like my nephew or my little cousins, but one day it will. And when they become my age, they'll understand, okay, you know, Uncle Kenny did this and he was able to surpass whatever he went through in life and here he is now, you know. So
What keeps you up at night?
shit. It's a lot of things. I mean, I already suffer from like insomnia, so I literally wake up at 3 every day.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe like regrets that I still have to like sort through in my mind. Um, Memories that I haven't reconciled within myself. Um, Even like future aspirations. You know, sometimes my dreams keep me up, like what I want to accomplish in the future. And then I become obsessive over it. You know, like this project that I just put out today, I literally became obsessive over it where I would wake up, listen to a couple of the tracks that I had on, and I would listen to it so much, it would go from like 3 to 5. And I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't get no sleep and now I gotta work, you know? So it's, I think it's a mixture of things, but a lot of it is just like regret, remorse, memories, and then future aspirations, I would say, that keeps me up at night.
What keeps you going every day?
Family. That's easy. Family, family, family. You know, making sure that I leave this life. When I do leave this life, I leave a legacy. You know, and I'm not just talking about like on a physical sense, like having children. Like I want people to remember my name. Like, if you met me, if I were to die today, you will remember me for the rest of your life. That's what keeps me going, is leaving a legacy for myself. Because I know what I've gone through, and I know that my spirit should survive what I've gone through. Not only now, but, for a lifetime.
Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets, if any?
Not telling certain people that I love them enough. I try to tell the people around me that I love them when I can, but not telling them I love them enough. And then not saying sorry to certain people. I think as a man, we have like egos that are just, if they're unchecked, it can kind of take you a little far off the edge. And because of that, I've gotten into some scuffles with like boys that I grew up with since childhood, and we don't talk anymore. And if I were to like have a couple of hours left, I would regret not making peace with them. So I would say not telling those that I love them more, and not making peace with my loved ones that I burn bridges with.
So you're gonna make it. You're alive and well. Do you feel that you can change or make amends with those regrets?
I can change it, and I can make amends. I would say right now, it's just about my ego. I know it's easy to find those people. It is. I know exactly where they live. I know where their mama stay at. It's just for me. It's ego. It's you hurt me, so why do I feel the need to reach out? But life is. As I was saying earlier, life is so short, man, and any of us can go on. So why not make that peace now? So.
You told me what your dreams were as a kid. What are your dreams now?
Well, I'm already writing.
Yeah.
It's and it's a blessing that I'm able to not only write and translate it to music, but I'm actually working on a manuscript right now. I'm gonna put out my first book early 2021. So it's a proud moment for me when I do that, because I'll be living out my dream as a child. Mm-hmm. But my dreams now is honestly to inspire, to motivate, and to push forward what I felt I needed at that time. So like I was telling you, like my biggest influences were Eminem, Common, Pac, you know what I'm saying? And for me, I want to be that person to someone. Not necessarily like, I don't want people to idolize me, or I don't want anyone to idolize what I do. I want them to look at me and be like, I can be better than him. Mm-hmm. But what I take from him is I can continue to go on. Despite what I'm going through in life, I can push forward to be better than what he's put out. And, I really want to just pave it forward. That's what it is for me, is inspiring people.
You're the co-author of your life book. What's your picture perfect ending?
Damn. Honestly, with like a little bad mixed chick. I ain't gonna front. Preferably my ex, because she was a little bad mixed chick. But like, honestly, man, like a wife, like 3 or 4 kids, yeah, just running around in the beach, having like a beach house, and we don't even have to live like on the beach, because that's some money, and maybe inland a little bit, but on a beach day, building sand castles with my seeds, man, and watching them grow. That's still my dream, and I envision it every day. Is having kids, having children that I could watch grow, you know, because um, my mom was able to raise two men, you know, raise two boys as a single parent. And it's like, I would be doing her a disservice if I didn't bring kids in this world and not raise them. Whether or not I'm with the woman that I have kids with, if I'm not there to be as a man, like to stand up and raise those children, I'm doing my mom a disservice, man. But at the same time, like, I know she's still within me in spirit. And she wants me to have kids, you know, and I want to have kids. Like I said, I want to continue my legacy. You know, I'm already doing it through a spiritual and mental sense. Now, physically, I want to see and Pac said it the best, you know, I want to see a part of me that was once innocent, you know. I feel like life has hindered me to a certain extent, has jaded me to a certain extent. That's why I got this tattoo, to be honest, you know. I'm gonna get more added to it, but this represents this too shall pass. You know, it's that life is temperamental. Everything in life is temperamental. Right. You know, because when you go up on this, everything here is spiritual. Right. You know, and it's like, so people look at my skull and they're like, oh, you like. I remember the first impression I got from my pops was like, oh, you getting skull heads now? Like, what the hell? You know, and I'm like, no, it tells a story. You know, it's dealing with what I'm going through as a man. Because sometimes I feel like my soul is cursed. You know, but I have to look at the long picture or the picture ahead, and you know, I'm only 27. You know, I still have time to go, or at least I hope I do. You know, if God permits. But my ideal life, my ideal ending to life, is to grow old with my wife and continue that legacy, man. See my kids grow up, see them have kids. You know. That's my my ideal ending to life, is a family.
So picture you know, beach day, sandcastle, wife, kids, and in less than a seconds, how would that moment feel?
Peace of mind, bliss. You know, far away from where I'm at now.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, damn, that was it. I feel you, bro. Jose, I appreciate it.